What if it was just like 2.5 minutes of that to start out the video? Should I do that sometime? I have to think about that. Well, I've got somebody asking me the same question at least twice. I feel I'm obligated to answer it. I made one video called "Hair Loss is Sped Up by Lack of Vitamin D and Too Much Sugar?" To which our friend Shalish De Silva said, "Nick, please say, what is the size of an average forehead?" And you see the urgency then you realize that's not the first time he said this. Receding hairline versus straight across hairline. Shalish De Silva said, "Nick, please say what the average size of the average forehead is." I feel like I've seen this come through. So finally, I'm giving in. I'm giving in to the peer pressure. And you know what we're gonna do? On my phone right now, we're gonna Google this. We're gonna see what happens when we type in average forehead. There we go. I found it. How tall is the average forehead? Now, of course, I'm an American, so I'm already thinking in terms of inches, not centimeters. What we're having as far as a reoccurring answer, when you Google it, there is no average forehead because everyone's different, but most people concur that it's 4 inches. That it's 4 inches is the average forehead. So where does your forehead begin? Where you're, I don't know, like if you had a unibrow, would that be weird? Or if your eyebrow's connected? So I don't know. You know. So let me put the phone down. Let's figure this out. It's funny because, and I hate to mess up my perfectly faux Norwood hairstyle for this, but my hairline goes all the way up there, right? Here, it's right there. So let's take my 4 fingers. Yeah, see, the top of my finger actually touches the lowest part of my hairline there, is what happens. Now I gotta fix this Norwood one for all the other videos so that I can have other guys say, "You shouldn't talk about hair loss, you got too much hair." And then the next one I'll do, and I'll put oil in it and coming back, "Man, you should shave off your hair, you don't have any hair." So, story of my life as a YouTuber who talks about hair loss. I either have too much hair or not enough hair. But either way, the question is about foreheads. And I think it's a relevant and interesting question. It's a good place to start as we're talking about hair loss. Some people have tall foreheads and some don't. And we established in a video I made a couple weeks ago, I have a tall forehead. And I guess really I have, you know, and since even when I was in high school, I was okay with it, it's fine. Some people have low foreheads. David Schwimmer, who was Ross on Friends, low forehead. Tony Danza, who played, well, Tony on every show he was ever in, but Taxi and Who's the Boss, small forehead. These are men in their 60s with just these small framed in foreheads. Well, not David Schwimmer, I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't mean him. He's not in his 60s, but David Schwimmer and Anthony Bourdain was the other guy I was thinking of. Some people just have low foreheads. Doesn't mean that they're better or more or less attractive. In fact, I've read studies that show that people, not just men, but men and women with taller foreheads are seen as more attractive. And it has something to do with what makes people attractive to begin with. Well, and this was back in college, I studied this actually, that what makes someone attractive? Basically, someone that has similar proportions of a baby. Yes, think about how babies have big eyes and they have big foreheads and they always happy. So what's gonna make you attractive? Well, smiling always is gonna make you more attractive, but it's saying people with a tall forehead, there's just something about the proportions of it, it's attractive. So, but I've also played footsie with this theory on this channel that I've noticed that people with taller foreheads tend, maybe I'm wrong, but tend to seem to be the ones who lose their hair, who are more likely to lose their hair. I just can't think of guys with low foreheads that lost their hair. It just seems that if you've already got a low forehead to begin with, then it's almost just kind of goes with the territory. And tall foreheads, that's not a theory that I'm willing to put my name out there on. I am willing to put my name out there, and Robert can't stand it. Robert hates my theory that if you are able to grow a full beard by the time you get out of high school, you're more likely to go bald sooner. He hates that theory so badly. But I stand behind that theory. I'm very skeptical as far as the theory about guys with tall foreheads are more likely to lose their hair sooner. But it could be in the DNA somewhere. I mean, David Schwimmer, Ross on Friends, the first time we saw him on TV was on The Wonder Years. That was one of my favorite shows growing up. And actually people said I look like either Fred or Ben Savage, the Savage brothers. What's the show? Boy Meets World. People have said I look like him. People say I've also looked like, again, Kevin Arnold, his brother. They're Jewish. I'm part Jewish. Maybe that's part of it, huh? But David Schwimmer, even when he was younger as Karen's boyfriend on The Wonder Years, he's just always been a small forehead guy. So now that he's in his 50s, his early 50s, I'm not surprised to see that he's got not even a Norwood one, arguably. So there we go. I've spent over 6 minutes to give a very thorough answer of the average size of a forehead. But really, it's not even about whether you have a tall forehead or not, because really, the articles I've read shows that tall foreheads are actually seen as attractive. So I think it would be more of an issue for maybe women. But for guys, it's expected that we're going to have at least a maturing hairline, if nothing else. We're not all going to end up like David Schwimmer. So as far as the tall forehead thing, I'd almost argue that's more of a concern for females. As for guys, maybe not so much. But yeah, 4 fingers is the general rule. There you go. A 7-minute video about the average size of the average forehead. There you go. You're welcome.